Hello students, today I am going to take a class for class 12 and I am going to deal with On Killing a Tree by Gibb Patel. On Killing a Tree is a poem of great significance in our contemporary world. I optimistically believe that by the end of this class, you are going to become more concerned and protective towards nature. Time and again, we have been emphatically told about the important role played by the environment in our day-to-day world. Unless we become more considerate and caring towards Mother Nature, an inevitable destruction is waiting for us. Gibb Patel's poem on killing a tree opens a new window to be conscious enough to protect our surroundings. In fact, the poet dramatizes man's destruction of flora and fauna that surround us by giving a special emphasis and focus to the plant kingdom. Gibb Patel was born in Mumbai on 18 August in the year 1914. He received his MBBS degree from Grant Medical College, Mumbai. During 1969 to 1971, Patel worked as a medical officer at Primary Health Center in Gujarat. Patel was an outstanding painter. He had some tremendous individual display of his painting works. Patel has been conducting a poetry workshop in Rishi Valley School for over a decade. He also edited a collection of poetry which was published in the year 2006. Gibb Patel's publications on poetry are Poems, How Do You Withstand, and Mirrored Mirroring. His plays are Princess, Sabaksha, and Mr. Behram. In fact, Gibb Patel is the master of irony and humor. Gibb Patel is a poet who depicts the contemporary realities with pungent humor and a striking notion of irony. He is known for his ability to transform ordinary events to heart-stirring poems. In his poems, Gibb Patel deals with the issues of the downtrodden and their search for the identity. Patel's poem does reflect out the frailty of human body, the vulgar social inequalities of caste and class, and violence and conflict that continue to assail post-independent India. There is also a probing curiosity about when, if anything, lies beyond the world of fraught materiality. All the people in India and the world are still expecting from him innumerable masterly creation like the ones he has gifted us already. Gibb Patel is a practicing physician who lives at Mumbai. On Killing a Tree is extracted from Gibb Patel's poem, which was published by Nissin Ezekiel in Mumbai in 1966. Patel makes uses of many images of human body. He talks about veins, skin, leprosy, and roots, and these evoke powerful images in the mind of any reader because we all are aware of physical entities. Now, let me go through the poem. On Killing a Tree by Gibb Patel. It takes much time to kill a tree. Not a single jab of the knife will do it. It has grown slowly, consuming the earth, rising out of it, feeding upon its crust, absorbing years of sunlight, air, water, and out of its leproside sprouting leaves. So, hack and chop, but this alone won't do it. Not so much pain will do it. The bleeding bark will heal, and from close to the ground will rise curled green twigs, miniature boughs, which, if unchecked, will expand again to former size. No, the root is to be pulled out of the anchoring earth. It is to be roped, tied, and pulled out, snapped out, or pulled out entirely out from the earth cave, and the strength of the root exposed, the source white and wet, the most sensitive hidden for years inside the earth. Then the matter of scorching and choking in sun and air, browning, hardening, twisting, withering, and then it is done. So students, we can see the poem starts abruptly with a shocking statement like killing a tree. Killing a tree is not a simple task. It requires much time and effort. It grows slowly by consuming the earth's nutrients. Nature nourishes a tree and it becomes deep-rooted. The initial first 9 lines begin the tale of how to kill a tree, but they offer no reason as to why a person would wonder this question in the first place. Certainly, there are reasons to kill a tree, like cutting them down to construct a building for some kind, but none of that is provided in this presentation. What this entails is that the actual act of killing a tree may not be the true focus of the work. If it were, Patel would have potentially given more information regarding the tree itself or even who is wanting to end it. Instead, he dives right into the concept that the tree is not easy to be killed, which indicates the resilience is the topic of the poem. The expression leproside refers to the tree bark, which is probably rough and has marks. The tree extracts air, water, sunlight out of the tree's leproside, resembling the skin of a leper. The second stanza starts with the word so. The word so is used to indicate the next step. The word acts like a link between the first stanza and the second stanza. As a simple stroke of the knife cannot kill a tree, some other steps are to be taken for the same purpose. These lines, that is the lines from 10 to 18, these lines continue with the resilient qualities of a tree in that hacking and chopping won't destroy it, not will pain. This shows a level of arrogance that comes with the prospect of the difficulty of killing a tree. It is not enough to say that the tree will not be ended by these measures essentially. Patel takes it a step further to welcome the challenge, like there is no reason to doubt that any attack would be in vain. There is reasoning behind this challenge that runs deeper than showcasing such arrogance connected to the tree. This reasoning falls in line with the idea that bleeding bark will heal and miniature boughs will expand again in response to the attack. Not only will the tree not be destroyed by the attacks, but it will grow because of them. Bleeding bark is suggestive of deterioration, whereas green twigs suggest fresh growth. Blood represents death. Green shows the springing of life. Green and blood symbolize the change from death to life. Here, the tree seems to bleed as a living creature bleeds in pain. The final stanza starts with the word no. The word no suggests that hacking and chopping cannot kill a tree. It can only inflict pain and cause the bark to bleed. So, the word no emphatically suggests that a tree cannot be killed easily. One realizes that in order to completely kill a tree, the root has to be destroyed. The tree has to be tied with a rope and pulled out entirely from the anchoring earth. The poet has vividly described the root. His scientific outlook and poetic imagination are mingled in his observation of the root. He considers the root to be the anchor of the tree that stands firmly on the ground. The root is actually the strength of the tree. It is the source of life. This life-supporting source is white and wet. It is white because it has never been exposed to sunlight, but is hidden inside the earth. It is wet because it is full of water and other nutrients. The poet calls the root the most sensitive, thereby associating human quality to the tree. So finally, in the presence of sun and air, the roots pass through the process of scorching, choking, browning, hardening, twisting, withering. In this was the killing of a tree is complete, the final expression, and then it is done. Highlights man's satisfaction in destroying nature. Ironically, it shows how man glorifies his cruelty. So students, we can see that written in free verse, Patel's On Killing a Tree is a poem which represents a graphic vision of a total annihilation of nature. In the poem, the tree symbolizes nature. Humans, out of their indiscriminate greed and selfishness, are wiping out nature and its very spirit. Our greed is not quenched by the mere physical process of killing a tree. We realize that it is not easy to kill a tree because it has grown slowly, consuming the five elements of nature, which are soil, water, air, atmosphere, and sunrise for years. The solo act of hacking and choking is not sufficient to kill a tree. The tree overcomes our onslaught by defending the assassination through branching off small stems close to the ground and resumes life and regains life again to its former size. Knowing a tree's power to come to life again, we decide to pull out the root of the tree. Like a butcher, we make several wounds in the torso of the tree and cut before onslaughting it for good. We then cut it into several convenient pieces. Still, our greed is not satiated. We are determined not to allow nature a second life. We make a deep cavity on the earth and pull out the roots which anchor the tree into the safety of the earth. The earth has so far protected and fed the tree like a mother, but the cruel humans disrupt this safety. After pulling the tree down, we further subject it to various processes of rendering it for commercial purposes. We further torture the tree by scorching and choking it in the sun and air. We also methodically subject the tree to various processes such as browning and hardening. With this, the total destruction of the tree is complete. We have ensured that the tree has no second life, and then it is done, says the speaker triumphantly. The poet depicts human cruelty towards nature with sardonic irony and detachment. But his own sympathy is with nature. The poem is a telling commentary on one of the major environmental issues that encounters modern lifestyle of us humans. The theme in Jeev Patel's eco-critical poem on killing a tree is the notion of a clash between two different attitudes: saving and cutting a tree. The focus for this is environmental degradation. The poem is very short, but it slashes out scar in our minds. The ravages of human industrial society are represented by the woodcutter. Cutting of trees is not simply cutting the branches or cutting its stem. Here, it is given a ceremonial entity. The branches and leaves will grow again. We need to cut out the root and dry it in the sun so that it is destroyed. Patel endorses that it will take too much time to kill a tree. The sarcastic tone is clear in view that cutting of trees need the same cruelty of a murderer. Woodcutter, or simply the professional murderer of a tree, may hack, cut or chop with repeated and regular blows and chop, but still this alone will not do the job. The tree does not seem to feel any kind of pain because the bleeding bark seems to heal all the time. The trunk of the tree from close to the ground will produce curled green twigs that will rise from the miniature boughs. In contrast to this practice of ripping natural substances out of the ground, making them into something unnatural, and then returning the waste products to the earth is an indigestible form, all in the name of economic progress and profit. Gift Patel presents the very different attitude that we have toward the earth. At first, the difference puzzles Patel. He asks us how it can be that cutting a tree has remained productive for over 1,000 years, but human civilization is pending destruction after only a period. The difference, as Patel later learns, is that cutting a tree is no childish job, rather a heartless process of infanticide. Patel endorses us to respect the earth as a living being and seek with humility to maintain the ecological balance that the earth needs. We should acknowledge that we do not own the earth but try to be responsible guests. So, student, we see that Gift Patel's poem on killing a tree presents a vivid description of man's cruelty and violence to nature to advocate the philosophy of non-violence. In the poem, the tree stands for nature that provides nourishment for man, but modern man, out of selfish greed, kills a tree and thereby destroys nature. The poet describes the whole process of killing a tree. Neither a simple jab of the knife nor hacking and chopping can kill a tree. It is firmly fixed with its root anchored in the earth. So it has to be roped, tied, and pulled out of the earth cave to kill it completely. Then it has to be exposed to sunlight and air, scorching, choking, browning, hardening, twisting, and finally withering. The poet uses a number of images of death to highlight man's cruelty and violence. Thus, he tries to arouse our love and sympathy for all its objects of nature. So, students, in today's class, we have learned about the poet Gift Patel, and we have also learned about the message that Patel wants to cater through his poem on killing a tree. In our next class, we will deal with the same poem and will analyze the poem thoroughly. Thank you.